Alrighty, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Kelley Podcast. Today, I've got Jim Hicks on the podcast. Jim is a world-renowned photographer, top 1%er in the photography space, a devoted husband, 24 years, a father to 4, and the founder of Thirst Relief, a global organization that since 2005 has brought sustainable, clean drinking water to over 1 million people around the world. And over the last 9 months, I've had the pleasure of getting to know him and his family, and it's been a total blessing just having them in my life. Jim is compassionate, wise, loving, and one thing that I noticed off the bat, and when interacting with him, he's super intentional with everyone in his life. So, welcome to the podcast.
I
had to fix up my chair, but yeah, I'm glad we could finally do this. I mean, you were in Florida for the last several months, but
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm super excited to be here.
yeah,
Just want to note that not many people in the wedding world know who my name still. Probably that was a long time.
yeah,
ago.
well,
Some of my old friends are still in it.
you
but,
were, but
yes, I was.
which is what we were just talking about. It's still something to be super proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so you started Thirst Relief in 2005,
Mhm.
correct? So take us back to starting that. Where did the conviction come from to starting Thirst Relief?
Well, you would think it came out of like this heart of compassion for the world
Mm-hmm.
and clean water, but honestly, it didn't. It was a supernatural experience. Um,
Yes.
Ashton, my oldest, who at the time I think was probably maybe 1.5 or so. Like he was
Mhm.
still sleeping in a crib. He had kind of a nightly routine where he would wake up in the middle of the night, cry a little bit. I'd go in, put a passy in his mouth, rub on
Mhm.
his head. He'd go back to sleep, and all was good. I'd go back to bed,
Yeah.
and I would do that to make sure my wife got a good night's sleep because she was on with the kids all day the next day
Mhm.
when I was working. And anyway, this one night I went in, and he just wouldn't go back to sleep.
Mhm.
And so I picked him up and started walking around his room. I can still see the bad green carpet that we had in the house, and the creaky floors. And I'm walking around the room with him, and I just had this extremely strong sense like I'm awake for a reason.
Wow.
And I said,
What time was this?
I
Was it
think
3 in the morning?
probably close to 3 in the morning. Yeah.
I hear so many stories about people having crazy
Wow.
encounters
Yeah,
right
he
around
was probably right
3 in the morning.
about that time. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. Um, so I just said, Lord, do you want to speak to me?
Yeah.
If so, I'm listening. And I've never heard the voice of God so crystal clear in my life. It was almost audible.
Whoa.
It's like it wasn't just like in my head, but it wasn't like it's hard to describe because it felt like audible. Like it was God was
Yes.
speaking, and He literally said, "Thirst and take water to the nations." And I was like,
Was
"Okay,
this ever on your heart before?
never."
That's
Yeah, and
crazy.
I will say I had done some traveling. Like I had done some short-term missions work and
Mhm.
been in different places all over the world. But as an American traveling, there was always bottled water, clean water, things provided for us.
Yeah.
I knew you shouldn't drink the water or things like that, but I was young and I didn't think about like the fact that the other people around me
Yes.
that were locals or that they were suffering as
Yeah.
much. And so, anyway, he soon went to sleep. Put him back in his crib, went back to my bed, wrote it in my journal,
Mhm.
and the next morning I told my wife about it, and she said, "I think God was speaking to you." I said, "Yeah, I do too." So we started looking into it, started researching, and we are like, "Dang, this is like a really, really serious issue."
Mhm.
Like 2.5 million children die every single year simply because they lack access to safe, clean drinking water.
It's crazy.
And that broke my heart. I was like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And I was like, babe, we've got to do something about this.
Yes.
Insert dramatic pause. When we're 50.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. I said, when we're 50. And the reason 50 came to mind was because that's when we'd have a nest egg.
Mhm.
That's when we would, have enough money built up. Our kids would be independent. We'd be able to just finally give back to the world, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I just turned 50 this year. And I realized how delusional that idea of
Yeah.
50 was. I'm like, nope, nope. So, I mean, there are a lot of things about 50 that are accurate that I hoped for, but finally having time to give back isn't one of
Yes.
them. My
No.
plate is just as full as ever. And so, anyway, I realized, you know, we might not be able to do a lot
Mhm.
because we were young, business owners.
So how old were you when in 2005? That was 20 years ago, so 30.
Yeah, so I would have been probably like 29, 30, right around that time. Well, so this was 2 years prior to actually starting Thirst Relief, I think, right around that time.
So you're sitting on it for a couple of years.
Kind of, yeah, because it's like I don't know what to do to get it started. And we were researching and that kind of thing, and I'm sharing the vision with people, and we were young wedding photographers,
Yeah.
with one baby and a fledgling business trying to get it going. I mean, I was literally working as a roofer part time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would, like, on the roof, I remember picking up the phone. Like, I have this little flip phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd pick up the phone and be like, "Hello, Davis Photography."
Yeah.
And I'd go off to a quiet corner on a roof,
Yeah.
big flat industrial roofs. And I would schedule appointments that night to meet with brides.
Yes.
And then I would come home, get cleaned up, get all the crap off me, feel
Yeah.
so dirty, and sit down and act like this was just my full-time gig.
Yeah.
And so, like, we had no business starting some international nonprofit, right?
Mhm.
Like, we just needed to, like, establish our own world. And so,
Yeah.
anyway,
That's such a massive vision too.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
I call that's like, I mean, it's a total God idea because it takes so many more people to come
Yes.
into it. Because good ideas, you can kind of work those out yourself,
Yeah.
but a God idea takes a lot of people.
Indeed. It was bigger than I could do on my own.
Yeah.
But what hit me was I thought about it, I was like, man, okay, what if like if I wait
Yeah.
until we can finally afford to give back, or we finally have enough time in our life to make a difference,
Yeah.
how many kids die during that time period? And I put myself, or probably
Was that the
say,
thought that was going in there? Because I actually had a question about that because
yeah,
I watched a video where you were talking and literally just what you mentioned. Yeah, we'll start it when we're 50.
yeah.
But there's a mindset shift where you're like, no, we can't wait till we're 50.
Yeah.
We got to go now.
The reason that mind shift happened is, I believe the Lord put it in my heart,
Yeah.
but it was, what if I was on the other side of the world in a
Mhm.
developing country, and my child, the one that I picked up out of the crib, Ashton,
Mhm.
what if he was dying simply because he lacked access to safe water?
Mm.
And what if there was one person on the other side of the world that didn't have a lot of time, didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have an abundance of, give back, so to say,
Yeah.
but they were supposed to do it and they didn't do it?
Mhm.
What if my child died because of that? Like, I
Uh,
wouldn't care that they could only save my child. I'd be like, it doesn't matter if you can save everybody, just save my child.
Yeah.
Because to me, my child was everything. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, all right, Lord, I don't know how much difference we can make in the world, but we're going to do everything we can.
Yeah.
And we'll do as faithful as we can along the way.
Yes.
And, crazy enough, 20 years later, that's now surpassed 1 million plus people that we've
No.
been able to serve.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing.
Does that even seem real?
No.
Yeah. Well,
And
you've
yes.
been over there
Yeah.
before too, so
Yeah.
you've seen.
Yeah, I've traveled to, most of our projects and have had boots on the ground.
Where are most of your projects at, or where are they around the world?
So our first project launched in the Brazilian Amazon, and that is still an ongoing project, and we've
Yeah.
taken thousands upon thousands of people, long-term safe, clean drinking water through
Yes.
biosand filters and things like that. Which biosand filters are amazing. They're local labor, local materials.
Mhm.
We conservatively estimate that they'll last 35 plus years.
Yeah.
They'll probably go much longer than that.
Wow.
But they cost less than $100 to
Yeah.
build.
I saw, because I was watching a few videos the other day on how the building process. What I think is cool too is you're incentivizing the people to actually build it themselves instead of, just coming in there like, hey, we're just giving you this. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you can build this for yourself, for your family, and then, reap all
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just so much more
So our
rewarding.
model, we actually use local labor. So those are full-time technicians.
Oh, okay,
Like, those
gotcha.
guys have jobs that work for Thirst Relief.
Yeah.
But we do get the community involved,
Yeah.
so they can help be a part of it.
Yeah.
And that way they have a sense of ownership, a sense of pride with it.
Mhm.
We usually try to get something in exchange for it. It doesn't matter if it's a chicken, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if it's $5. Like,
Yeah.
the idea is that ownership creates a sense of value and
Yes.
warranty. So if there's a problem, we want them to ask for help.
Yeah.
Nobody asks for help if their free gift breaks, right?
Mhm.
And so if there's a problem, we want to know about it. Thankfully, they're so basic and so simple. There's
Yeah.
rarely ever any problems, and they're simple to maintain. The owner of it can maintain them, and they're extremely effective. Like, I drink out of them when I travel.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Man, there's so much in that, but I want to go back to the heart of it though, which is you're talking about how you could hear so clearly from God. I think a lot of people don't exactly know what that
Yeah.
feels like, what that sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or we could even just go even further back. Like, what does your relationship,
Yeah,
where did your relationship with God start?
that's good because yeah, I mean, I can't say it's like, well, I'm just so in tune with God that
Yeah.
he likes to talk to you. I do think God wants to speak to us more, and I think He probably does speak to us more than we are paying attention to.
Yes.
And I think usually it's a lot more subtle. It's that still small voice.
Mm-hmm.
My father, before he died, said, when God speaks to you, it's always going to be the loudest the first time you hear it,
Wow.
and the more you rationalize it away, the quieter it gets.
What
And
does he mean by rationalize it?
we push it off. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear. Here, I'll give you an example. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's funny because this example might not really actually prove this point, but
That's
that's
all right.
because my father in heaven,
Yes.
my God, meaning
Yes.
not my dad who's in heaven, uh, he got stern with me on a situation. So one day I dropped Laura off at the grocery store. That's my wife,
Uh-huh.
and I was running into the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And as I pulled into the bank, there's this kid sitting on this curb, and I heard so clearly, "Go tell him I love him."
Whoa.
And I was like, I'm busy. I got a lot going on today. No, that's not God.
How
That's
old were
just,
you?
oh man, I'm probably 30, 32,
Who
33.
is this young man that you're going up
No
to?
idea. Some stranger sitting
Just
on the
some
curb.
stranger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and I'm like, this kid's gonna think I'm a weirdo. I don't want to do this. That's just my best thought.
Yeah.
This isn't God. So I rationalize it away. That's what I mean.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
then
Okay.
I go into the bank, and as I'm standing in line to, you used to have to go to the bank, which
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a foreign concept now.
Yeah.
You used to go there and deposit your checks, and I'm standing in line to deposit my check, which that's this piece of paper thing that people write
Yeah.
numbers on and you get paid
Yes.
that way. Yeah, that's a foreign concept too nowadays. Anyway, but I'm standing there in line ready to deposit it, and I hear again, "Go tell him I love him." And I'm like, "No, I'm not okay, that's
I'm
not the
not doing
Lord."
that.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to ignore it, It's like I'm
Yes.
trying to be distracted from it.
Yes.
And in my mind, I'm like, Laura's gonna be waiting for me. Like, I told her I'd be real fast. I got a lot on my plate today. I can't do this. And I try to rationalize it away, right?
Yeah.
And I go out, jump in my car, and as I start to pass the kid, he's still sitting on the curb. I hear much more sternly this time, "Tell him I love him." I was
Whoa.
like, all right, stop the car. I rolled down my window. I said, "Hey." He looks up. His head was hanging down. I said, "You're going to think this is really weird." I said, "But God just wanted me to come over here and tell you that He loves you."
Wow.
And he literally starts bawling on the spot. And I was just like, wow.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I think there's been a few encounters where it's been similar for me, where it's you hear it, you don't really think much of it.
Yeah.
Like a couple months ago, I just felt God tell me, "Yo, you need to text this friend," and I didn't really. It wasn't even
Yeah.
super. I guess it wasn't audible by anything. It was just a
It's
hunch.
just a sense, a feeling.
And so I just shot him a text, and I kind of was just, lifting him up, just encouraging him, whatever. And this friend in particular, I don't think, has, a strong relationship with God, but he's like, dude, that's crazy that you texted me at this time. This is exactly what I needed.
That's so
It's
cool.
wild because,
Amazing.
I mean, just what you're probably thinking, like, why am I gonna,
Yeah.
this is so, stupid. It's whatever, but it's things like that mean the most.
So what's crazier about that story is when he finally stops crying, he looks up at me and he says, "I was literally sitting here and I was saying, God, do you even love me?"
Whoa.
I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure he does because I'm telling you what, he told me 3 times to do it and I didn't want to do it at all." And I said, but finally I was like, "Okay, I'm going to obey." And he just was, I mean, he was blown away, and I was too.
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't know if you go to church anywhere, but there's this awesome church thing that used to be a part of this called Joshua House Young Adult Ministry." And he
Uh-huh.
goes, "I went to Joshua House last week. It's the first time I've stepped foot in a church in 7 years." I was like, "Really?" I said,
Whoa.
"Well, I think maybe you should go back." He goes, "Yeah, I do too."
Yeah.
And so, I think on that and I'm like, God was really, really, really strong with me on that one. It's not
Yes.
usually like that.
No, yeah.
And even when it's that strong, I resisted it.
Mhm.
Why? Right? Like, why?
Yeah.
Well, it's more
Why
about
is that our natural instinct?
yeah. Like, I mean, worst case, you go tell somebody God loves them.
Why do you
Like,
think that's our natural instinct?
I think it's the flesh. I think it's
Yeah.
the what people are gonna think I'm a weirdo. I think that,
Yes. Fear of man.
yeah, fear of man. I think
For
I'm a
sure.
chronically insecure, weak little man
Yes.
in the flesh,
Yeah.
and my spirit is willing, my flesh is weak. That kind
Yes.
of thing. And I think the older I've gotten, I think I'm more willing to step out in those things with
Mhm.
less fear. because I've learned through the experiences of life that it's usually God when that happens.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't know that I always do, you know?
Yeah.
So back to your question about hearing God's voice.
Yeah.
I lived most of my life as a imposter Christian. I went to church.
Yeah.
Um, I was in my youth group and active. I was not at all walking with Jesus.
Yes.
I
Wait,
lost.
there's a difference between going to church and
There is actually.
It's
I
gotta be
lost my
preach.
virginity in 7th grade.
Wow.
I was sleeping around with girls.
Yeah.
I was being very, just a very fleshly, worldly dude.
Yes.
Addicted to porn when I was a young kid. My sexuality was all tweaked out and
Uh-huh.
jacked up. And then um, I I went to college and I met some people who actually talked about Jesus like
Where'd you go to school?
Milligan
Okay.
College, now
Okay.
Milligan University. It's in
Okay.
East Tennessee. The
Gotcha.
funny thing is, it's a small Christian liberal arts college.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't even a Christian,
Yeah.
and they had a pretty high academic standard, and I didn't have great academics, but I got
You got
accepted.
in.
I got in. God had a plan,
Mhm.
But I met some people there. They talked about Jesus like they knew him like a friend, and it was
Yes.
so foreign to me. I was like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I remember one day I walked down the hall. There were these two guys, Josh and Brian, and
Josh Weir?
no, totally different guy. So I walked down the hallway and I knocked on Brian's door, and he says, "Come back later. I'm having a quiet time."
Mm-hmm. A quiet time.
Quiet time.
That sounds a little
That's
sus.
exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know what that is. Sounds like to me. And
Not sus anymore, but at the time, if I was in your position, I'd be like,
totally, I
"Oh,
was
we're
like, that
having
sounds
quiet
so
time."
weird. And so I went over to Josh. Josh was his suite mate, so they had a bathroom that connected their rooms. And I was like, Josh, I said, Brian says he's having this thing called quiet time. I said, what the heck is that? And he's like, well, because that's just when he like gets quiet with God, and he just puts all distractions aside and reads his Bible and
Yeah.
just prays. And I said, huh. I said, do you have quiet times? He goes, yeah, every day. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, man, you should try it. It's really great.
Yeah.
I walked out of that room and I was like, I don't know what these guys are talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I know that what they call themselves as a Christian is not what I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also was 8 hours away from home. It was the first time in my life I had freedom.
Yeah.
Do I want to go to church? Do I need to go to church? Do
No.
I care about church?
No.
And one thing I think happened around that time in my life is I decided I'm going to at least be authentic. So if I don't believe this crap, I'm not going to go for it.
Yeah.
If I do, then I will, right?
Yeah.
So I went on a quest for the truth. I wanted to
Yes.
know, what is the truth. I studied the world's religions, um, the majors, a couple little side ones too, but I made a basic conclusion. And
Mm-hmm.
this is ultra simplified, but I think it's true. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all religions teach almost the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
One, there's a God. Two, you're not that God. You might be a spark of it. You might be intertwined, but you're not like the original creator.
Yes.
Like even
Yeah.
Buddhism, there's Shang-Ti. They don't talk about him, but he's the original creator. Okay.
Hmm.
You can't know him, so that's why they don't talk much about him, right? But there, one, there's a God. Two, you're not him
Yeah.
or it or whatever you want to say.
Yes.
Three, something's gone awry to create a problem
Mm-hmm.
that has divided you from them. And four, you got to figure out a way to get back
Yes.
through your good works, through bringing the scale of justice back in order, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
You gotta desire nothing enough,
Mm-hmm.
which is a contradiction because you're desiring to desire nothing, right?
Yeah.
You've got to give enough to the poor. You've got to take enough beating or penance, whatever.
Yes.
Right? But there's
Yes.
something you have to do.
Yes.
And what I discovered in Christianity was that Jesus said there's nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing. You're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
The law condemn me.
Yes.
Like when I stand before God's law, I don't look at it and be like, check, 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 all good. I go, oh crap, I'm in trouble.
Yes.
Right? Galatians talks about how it's a schoolmaster to lead us to Christ, the law of God.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mirror that shows you how bad and ugly you are versus, oh, look, you're doing a great job.
Yes.
And Jesus says, but don't worry, I took care of that for you.
Yeah.
I became sin so that you could have the righteousness of God. And
Yeah.
so philosophically, I'm like, I like this one.
Yeah.
This one is what I need because I'd used enough girls for my own selfish gain. I'd done enough things. Like I mean, up to that point in my life, I literally lived for nothing more than just myself, my
Mhm.
comfort, my pleasure, my
Mhm.
gain, my whatever. And I hid it well. They even asked me to do the prayer at my high school graduation because I was the Christian guy.
Really?
But all my friends knew the truth of me. We partied
Yeah.
together, we lived our life together.
Yes.
That prayer was so gross when I think about it. It,
Yeah.
it sounded good, but it was so inauthentic because it
Yeah.
wasn't true, in
Yeah.
my heart. So anyway, I concluded that the philosophy of Christianity, the theory of Christianity was good
Mhm.
and it was right. And it was the only way that I would be able to make my way back to heaven, right? To
Mhm.
back to God, because I knew I couldn't make my way back
Yeah, we're
through my
screwed
own
every
works.
other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it true? And that was a really, really, really important thing to me to figure out because,
Mhm.
just because it sounds good and philosophically lines, it doesn't mean it's historically accurate. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's a factual thing that I can literally bank my entire life on.
Mhm.
So thank the Lord, He orchestrated that I meet a couple different guys. They invited me to a Bible study. And it's so funny because I'm pretty sure I was the only guy there that wasn't a believer.
Mhm.
And we were studying Old Testament prophecy. And they come upon these passages, like Psalm 22, his feet and his hands were pierced,
Yes.
and they cast lots for his clothing. And I'd be like, dude, they're talking about Jesus right there.
Jesus.
And they're all like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then the end where they're like, yeah, we're getting him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to me, it's new. And I'm like, but wait a minute, no, hold on. But that was written like 700 years before Jesus. How is that
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah.
And like, because God spoke it through a prophet. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but is it true?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, cynical, skeptical,
Yes.
uh, I'm thinking, okay, so the way they used to, you know, do scriptural scribing, right? When
Mhm.
they take these papyri and they
Yes.
would handwrite the scriptures. That's how they preserved the Old Testament.
Mhm.
If I'm an overzealous monk who is a Christian
Yeah.
and I'm handwriting this thing, me being the person I was, I would probably embellish it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's add this one in here a little bit.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
pierced his hands and his feet because he knew Jesus had been crucified on a cross, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. Well, especially the book of Isaiah. Like Isaiah is so powerfully specific
Yeah.
about, Jesus. And I'm thinking that's probably what happened. And so I brought it up to the leader of the group and he said, hey, here's a book, check this out. And it was a book called The Prophets Still Speak. And in it, I learned about these amazing things called the Dead Sea Scrolls. And are you familiar with the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yeah, well, they found him, what, in the 1980s?
Actually, it was 1949, I
Oh,
believe. Yeah,
1949. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
I thought it was 1976, but I think it was 1949 is when they discovered it.
Yeah, it's like the Book of Isaiah. There's some, but there's a ton of literature. It's not just,
Not just the Old Testament.
yeah,
Yeah,
not just the
yeah.
Old Testament.
But the entire book of Isaiah. So the story is this:
Yeah,
there's a Bedouin monk. He's walking through the desert, herding his sheep,
yeah,
and one of his sheep wanders off into a cave. Well, he doesn't want to leave the rest to go get it, so he picks up a rock, throws it into the cave, hoping it will scare his sheep back out.
yeah,
He hears something shatter. Out of curiosity, he wanders in and discovers there's all of these clay jars that
yeah.
contain scriptures and other writings. And what the most fascinating find of all was the entire book of Isaiah was found perfectly intact. Some of the writings were so decayed they couldn't even tell what they were.
And that's literally 2,000 years later. That
Yeah. Well, no,
or that,
close to it
yeah,
actually.
I think
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to picture that thing preserved in a clay jar for 2,000
2,000
years
years.
almost.
Yes.
So, actually, it's funny. It surpasses 2,000 years. That's
Wow.
because and here's why that was significant, right?
Mhm.
The earliest copy of the book of Isaiah, handwritten, right, that
Mhm.
we had was 150 AD. So
Mhm.
150 years after the death of Christ,
Yeah.
which AD actually stands for Anno Domino, the year of our Lord. But it was 150 years after his death, rightfully.
Mhm.
So my theory, right, that it
Yeah.
could have been, embellished actually was true
Yeah.
until the discovery of this book of Isaiah perfectly intact, because it predated Christ by a
Mhm.
minimum of 150 years, potentially up to 300 plus years.
Yes. Yeah.
And it said word for word, letter for letter, exactly what that the previously earliest manuscript we had said.
Yeah.
And it blew my argument out of the water. And it actually blows every even agnostics or atheists or critical thinkers who don't still
Yeah.
believe in Christ, they will recognize that that is authentic, right?
That's real. Yeah.
So it was things like that that I discovered over and over and over, and I dug deeper and deeper, and I finally got to a point where I was like, everything that I question, I find an answer for,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately, I'm always going to have more questions,
Mm-hmm.
but at some point, you go, this bet is the bet I'm going in on, right?
Yes.
I'm all in. And I remember in my college dorm room, I was like, Lord, I know I'll always have questions. I know I'll
Yeah.
always have things I want to discover, but I've discovered enough and I have enough faith to believe that you are the way, you are the
Yeah.
truth, you are the life, and that no man gets to the Father but through you.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm all in. And I gave my life to Christ. And my college roommate actually baptized me in a creek
No
at
way.
midnight outside of our campus, just he and I. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So,
incredible.
yeah.
How long? So when you started going down that, the rabbit hole of Christianity, like I actually really want to look this up, like
Yeah.
look into this because I think for most people in maybe like American Christianity, just their faith is their parents' faith. They're not
Yeah.
actually seeking out the truth for themselves. So how long was it for when you got the hunch to start looking, and then when you like
Went all
really,
in.
yeah, went all in?
I'd say it was about a 6-month journey,
Yeah.
which is funny. That doesn't seem very long, but I was so intense
Yes.
and so focused and I was curious and I was earnestly desiring and seeking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm sure there's things in my life like my parents who were just incredibly wonderful, godly people.
Yeah. That's what I
Um,
was actually about to ask. What was your relationship like with your parents?
fantastic. I consider myself to be truly blessed beyond measure.
Yeah.
My father was perhaps one of the greatest fathers to ever live.
Yeah.
He
What made him such a great father?
It's a great question. The way he loved people,
Yeah.
like if you were in a room with him, it didn't matter how many other people were around. If he was talking to you, you were the only person in the room.
Yeah.
Like everybody felt like they were his favorite, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and he was a great dad. He really was. But funny enough, he was an even better grandfather.
Wow.
And so there's something about the way other people love your children that makes you love them even more and appreciate them. The
Wow.
way that he loved on my children, sadly, he passed away about 6 years ago, 7 years
Mhm.
ago, maybe. And but he, in that short time, he left more impact than most people would leave in a lifetime, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just so caring. He was a servant-hearted
Mhm.
person. He liked helping others, but he didn't find his identity in it. It
Yeah.
wasn't like growing up, I was never like, "Where's dad?" Oh, he's helping somebody else. Like he was engaged, he was present.
Yes.
Um, so I'm sure that loving environment
Mhm.
and my mom, like she's just a beautiful human being. She's still living and just a loving, godly woman. She's a prayer warrior.
Yeah.
Um, all of that had major impact, I'm sure, in me. But here's the thing is my parents raised us in a church that actually was teaching false doctrine. It was
Mm.
it was a Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ affiliate where you had to be baptized to be saved.
Mhm.
Um,
Church of Christ and the Church of Wait, yeah, Church of Latter. I was thinking Church of
the
Latter-day Saints.
Mormons,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Very different,
Very different.
but
Yeah.
also have some significant challenges, and
Yes.
um, we could get down that road if you want to, um, but when I came to Christ and I got so on fire for God, I started bringing that faith home,
Mhm.
and my parents started to notice there was something radically different,
Mhm.
and I started talking about my faith in a way that they weren't used to. And I also started sharing with them that salvation was by grace through faith alone,
Yeah.
like
Would
alone. That's
they
it.
share their faith with you?
They did, I mean, this is the weird thing. So I remember going on a skiing trip with my dad one time.
Mhm.
When I say skiing trip, we just went to like,
Mad Rivers, No Trails, or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't like we went on some big trip.
Yeah.
But we would do it semi often because I was getting into a lot of trouble and my dad wanted to get me occupied on something else.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I remember driving back that night and my dad said something to the effect of he'd be able to finally die in peace when he knew that all of his children had been baptized.
Whoa.
Now, I'm the only one that hadn't been baptized at that point. So I was like, this is awkward.
Yeah.
And I was 13, and that was the age that it was expected in our church that, hey, when you're 13, you should be getting baptized.
Yeah.
And every week they'd say, if anyone wants to come up and receive Christ and be baptized, and I'd feel this like I should do it because everybody wants me to do it.
Yeah.
And anyway, after my dad laid that heavy one on me, I was like, all right. So I went up and I got baptized.
But not because your heart was telling you
Not
to
at
do
all.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I was living like a total hellion,
Yeah.
And I had conviction of the way I was living was wrong, but I certainly wasn't following Christ. And that baptism was nothing more than an act of fear of man or wanting to please my parents.
Yeah.
And so, like, while my parents were so loving and authentically amazing people, they were perverted in their own understanding of the gospel and the grace of Jesus.
How so?
By being a part of that church.
That church. What kind of things were they teaching?
Well, here's the primary. Acts 2:38. Repent and be baptized for the forgiveness of your sins. Well, that could also easily be translated, repent and be baptized because of the forgiveness of your sins. There's a distinction there between for and because of. I don't know if you pick up on that difference. But
yeah, because
one is I'm being baptized because I follow Christ and I'm forgiven by his grace through faith. The other is I'm being baptized to receive forgiveness. It's an act. It still comes back to you, right?
Yeah.
It's your act of obedience in baptism saves you.
Yeah.
So when I got saved and I came
that puts it on you too. It's like, oh, this is my doing. No, it's the Spirit.
It's there is a God. You're not it. There's a problem. Oh, what do I do? Get baptized.
Yeah. Well, the story, the Bible story that comes to mind is when Jesus asks Simon Peter, "Who am I?" And then he says, "You are the Christ." And he was like, I don't remember, word for it, but he was like, basically, "Congrats, the Spirit revealed that to you. No one else did."
Yes.
Which is kind of right along the lines of what you were saying.
Yeah, that's the thing. So when God revealed to me that salvation was by grace through faith alone, that lit a fire in me of this is it. Jesus is it. I'm all in. I remember I came back home and I started a Bible study through my parents' church. And
was this when you came back home from college or after you got baptized?
So, okay, let me go back. So I got baptized. That was my freshman year of college.
Yeah.
I go back sophomore year, ran for school class president, got elected as class president.
Hey, let's go.
About halfway through the year, Twyla Paris, you probably don't know who that is. She was an old Christian artist. She was doing a concert at our college.
Wow.
And we were told that we could get out of class with no problem if we would go help with the setup for the concert. So I was like, sign me up. I didn't like school.
Yeah.
So I went and I was helping them set up, and I walked out in the hallway there in the auditorium, and there was this booth set up, and it had a banner and it said, "Come find your place in the kingdom of God." I was like, that's me. Like, what is my place, right? Like, I've given my life to Christ. By the way, I went to college to be a marine biologist. And there was only one reason I wanted to be a marine biologist, and that was so that I could better understand fish habitat, because I wanted nothing more than to be a professional bass angler. That was it.
Yeah.
So God changes my focus from being a bass angler. I end up going to church, gave my life to Christ. I end up going to this little country church, and I remember sitting in the back row, and as I'm sitting there, clear as could be, I hear the words, "No longer will you be a fisherman, but a fisher of men." And I was like, huh. And I fished one more tournament after that, and everything that could go wrong, except from like dying and my boat exploding, did. And I was like, all right, Lord, I get it. I'm done. I never fished another tournament from that day forward.
Whoa.
I changed my major from marine biology to youth ministry because I just wanted to know the Bible. And so then fast forward, next year I get elected as school president or class president. I go to the concert setup. I see this thing, and there's a guy there setting this booth up. And I looked at their pamphlet, and it said, "To know God and to make him known." And I thought, that's what I want. I want to know God, and I want to make him known.
Yeah.
And by the way, I had tried to join the Marines. That's a
no way.
That's a little side story. Yeah. I wanted purpose. I wanted mission. I wanted to do something that would make an impact in the world.
Yeah.
And to me, that was Marines, right? Do something good. I got rejected by the Marines because I had broken my spine, my neck in a wrestling, my final wrestling match of my senior year.
Oh, that sucks.
It put me out of state, which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But they said, you'll never make it you won't make it through boot camp with the
Uh-huh.
spinal issues that you have. So, I'm like, all right, God, what is my purpose? What do you have for me? And I started talking to this guy. His name was Tim, and he was the guy who was going to be leading this next school at an organization called Youth with a Mission.
Mm.
And most people know it as YWAM.
Why wham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go home, tell my parents, well, so I'd never fasted in my life,
Mm.
but I decided this is a big decision. Am
Yeah.
I going to leave college to go to this YWAM? Like, never even heard of it
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
But I knew that what they had was what I wanted, and I talked it through with the guy, and he's like, you come and you get to know God, know the Father heart of God,
Mhm.
get healed from the inside, and then go and share that love with the world. And I
Yeah.
was like, dude, this is what I want.
Yeah.
So I fasted and I prayed for 24 hours. And I honestly sought God with all my heart. And I felt a sense of peace. Like, yes, I want you to leave college and go to YWAM.
Wow.
Now, I broke my fast with eating an entire Papa John's pizza. Don't recommend it. Doesn't end
That would
well.
mess your stomach
Did.
up. Yeah.
I did not understand fasting. I've grown in my health a lot along the
Yeah.
way.
So,
So I go home, talk to my parents about going to YWAM, leaving
mhm.
college. Mind you, my parents were paying for college. They gave me a monthly stipend for food and all kinds of stuff. And I was the first Hicks that was going to actually I'm sorry, a second. My sister did graduate from college. But to my parents, college was it.
Mhm.
Like, you got to get a college degree.
Yeah.
Like, they were so big on it. And they said, so you really think God's speaking to you, huh? And I said, I do. I believe he is. And they said, well, if he is, he'll speak through your wallet. If you leave college, we're withdrawing all of our financial resources from you. You'll have none of our support, and you're on your own.
Oh.
I was like, wow, that kind of changes things,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew that this was the right path. And I said, you know what? If God's calling me this, he'll provide for me.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay. So God will provide.
yeah.
Talking about how you're.
So I said to my dad, I said, I respect that. I don't know if I actually said that, but I did. I
Yeah.
respected it. I was like, okay. I said, here's what I need though. I said, I don't need your financial support, but I do need your blessing.
Mm.
And they actually even told me that at the school. They said, well, because my dad was very concerned that it was a cult
Mm-hmm.
and completely unaware of the fact that he was actually a part of a cult more than not, right? The
Wow.
baptism cult.
Yeah.
And and I said, I told them, that my dad voiced some concern, and the director of the base, Orrin Paris, that was Twyla Paris's dad, he said, unless your parents give the blessing, we won't let you come. I
Mm.
said, okay. So I went to him, I said, all I need is, I just want your blessing. You don't
Yeah.
have to approve. You don't have to support. You don't have to give your money.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know that you bless me, that you're willing to bless me in it. And that's
Yeah.
it. He said, if that's what you want, you've got it. I said, okay. So that's all I want. And at that,
Question. So you're hearing from God so audibly. This is what you're gonna go do. I want you to go to YWAM.
mhm,
What if that's God's voice? You're hearing,
yeah,
God's
yeah,
voice. But say that the parental voice is like, no, you're not.
yeah,
What would you do in that situation? I mean, you got the blessing, which is great,
yeah,
but
yeah.
in that
Honestly,
instance,
I mean, I can't say that I know because it didn't happen,
yeah,
but in that situation, they said I couldn't come if I didn't get it. So I guess I would
wow,
have, they were really big on, hey, your parents are your
yeah,
authority until you're on your own as an independent, human. And I was over 18. I guess I could have.
yeah.
Um,
They're still paying the bills and helping you
yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah. And
for
I
sure.
I still felt like I was under their just parental authority,
Yes.
and I wanted their blessing. So I do believe that there's a crystal clear time in life where I must obey God rather than man,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
if it was that, then I'm going to obey God every time, I hope,
Mhm.
right? But in that situation, it did feel like it was more of a, I want to honor you and I
Yeah.
want to go with your blessing, not I'm going to do whatever whatever God tells me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because I know that if it's really God, he's going to work through those, that he's
For
going to plan it
sure.
through.
Yes.
And I do believe in that situation, if they didn't and God still wanted it, he'd make it crystal clear,
Mhm.
and I know a lot of people who they've suffered a lot, people who's they've lost their family, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being in Malaysia one time, and one of the pastors we worked with there, he was being beat within an inch of his life when the police finally showed up, but it was his father that was beating him, and they got him stopped, and they're like, "Why are you doing this to your son?" They said, "Because he's become a Christian." And they said, "Oh, well then continue." And thankfully, he
Whoa.
had calmed down enough that he decided not to kill him. But he was literally going to kill him because he was a Muslim who'd become a Christian.
Yeah.
And like that's real suffering, right?
Yes.
So I
We
don't
don't
want
know anything about that
I
over
don't.
here.
I know nothing of that. Right?
Yeah.
Like I just so okay. My parents aren't going to give me money, right?
Mhm.
So I knew I needed to raise money, need to raise funds. I did a garage sale. I'll give you a short version of this because there's a cool little story in it. But
Mhm.
I gathered all my belongings that I could find that I didn't need. I reduced my life down to whatever I could fit in my little Chevy Citation hatchback,
Yeah.
and um, I had a Chevy Citation, by the way. My brother had a Camaro,
What is
and
it? A Chevy Citation? I'm gonna have to look up a
you
picture
know,
of that.
let's just say my parents learned along the way that fast cars aren't good for young men. So I was the youngest, and anyway, my point is, I gathered everything that I could sell. My people from my church actually donated like belongings and things that I could sell, and I
Wow.
did a big garage sale. And I had this really amazing, really nice catcher's mitt. And I
Mhm.
remember so clearly it was $115 back in like
The
when was this?
90s?
1993 or something. I don't know. But no, I
Yeah.
bought it when I was probably, so it was like early 90s or late 80s. And I
Mhm.
paid for it with my own money. And so um, I was going to sell it because I just wasn't using it anymore. But I had taken great care of it, kept it oiled up, and it was signed by Cleveland Indians player Andre Thornton.
Wow.
And it was a prized possession, but I
Yeah.
needed the money. So I had everything out for sale. And they had little tags on them with prices, and it was $70. That's what I was
Mhm.
selling it for. And excuse me. And this little boy comes walking up, and he has the mitt, and he hands me $1.
Mm.
I said, "Oh, hey, buddy." I said, I'm sorry. That's not $1. That's 70, or maybe it was 30. I can't remember, but
Mhm.
it wasn't $1. I can tell you that. And because I'd kept the mitt nice and oiled, the tag that was supposed to be on it didn't stay on it, and he just picked up a tag that was there and put on whatever. And his mom was like, "Oh man, he was so excited about that mitt." And I was like, "Man, I'm so sorry." I was like, I'm going to serve God. Like, I need this money to serve God."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I understand." And he had taken the mitt to their car and was holding onto it and crying. And
Yeah.
I said, "Man, I need the mitt back." So okay. She went and got the mitt that night. And that was a 2-day garage sale. Okay.
Mhm.
That night, I'm putting. I remember I'm in my bedroom. I'm literally getting dressed to go to bed. And once again, I hear the Holy Spirit speak. "I can't believe you didn't give that boy that baseball mitt."
Whoa.
And I remember I literally looked up and I was like, "God, I'm doing this for you." And I heard very clearly, "Do you think that I need your money to fulfill my will in your life?" And I
Whoa.
was like, "Dang, that's powerful."
Yeah.
I was like, "All right." I said, "Lord, if you bring that boy back tomorrow, I'll give him the mitt for free."
Dang.
The next day, I kept the mitt inside the house because I didn't want anybody else to buy it
Yeah.
in faith, right? I'm acting in faith. And that boy shows up again, and they brought like, I don't know, $30 or whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Oh, I'm so excited you're here." She looked at me and said, "Okay." And I went inside, I grabbed the mitt, I came out, I said, "Last night, God spoke to me and said to give this mitt to your son." And she's like,
Whoa.
"Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." And she's like, "Oh, no, this is for your mission. We need to pay." I said, "No." I said, "I'm supposed to give it to you in obedience." I said,
Yeah.
"God will multiply if I, act in faith." And so I gave the boy the mitt. I
I
go,
got a question.
yeah,
So just one thing that kind of stuck out is you associated I guess at that time going on mission, going to YWAM, like I need this money so that I can go on mission, I can go serve
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Has your mindset shifted in the sense of serving God? Like you don't have to go on missions to be able to still serve God.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
100%.
you get what I'm
I can't
saying?
agree with you.
But you used to believe
Yeah.
that. So I want to know about that. How did that
Yeah. So,
transition? Because I think there's a lot of people, people who are like, you have to go to the nations. You have to
yeah,
go do all this
yeah,
stuff to go serve God. It's
totally.
like, you can't even take care of your family.
Exactly. I love how Jordan Peterson talks. He's like, "You want to change the world? Start with making your bed. Like
Yeah.
get your own house in order, right?"
Yes.
So yeah, I'll go back to that. I want to hit on that. Let me finish this
Yes.
because
Okay. Do it.
there's a
Yes.
thing.
Do it. Do it.
So I end up, I'm back at YWAM, and um, one day we'd gone on this 2-week trip, doing outreach to the inner city of Memphis, and
Hmm.
crazy cool stuff there. Surrounded by a gang, preaching the gospel to them. Thought they were going to kill us.
Whoa.
Multiple gang members surrendered their lives to Christ right on the spot. It was pretty amazing.
Dang.
They circled around us to put a beating on us,
Yeah.
but
It's crazy.
God was powerful in that moment with them. And so we ended up coming back from Memphis, and we're back at the cafeteria, and that's where our mailboxes were.
Uh-huh.
And I had a stack of mail. Now, mind you, I need money. I gotta pay my way for this thing.
Yeah.
And in there was a stack of letters, all containing checks that equaled, I think, $1,876, if I remember correctly. And it was the exact amount that I needed to make my next second payment for
No
loan.
way.
But here's the cool thing. The last letter, I open it up. It's got like kids writing on it,
Yeah.
to Jim Hicks and my address. I open it up, and I don't know if you've ever seen the little kids paper they use in school. It's like kind of like a little discolored, and it's got the green and red lines on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's that paper,
Okay.
and it's a handwritten letter from this little boy that I had given the mitt to.
No
And
way.
he talks about how he knew that God loved him and heard his prayers because he prayed that I would give him that mitt. And he wanted to thank me for that. And I thought, how cool that that letter was the last thing I opened after seeing all these checks come in.
Yeah.
The Lord's like, I'll provide your needs. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Just obey me. That's all I want. I just want your obedience, not your sacrifice. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when it comes to mission and serving God, do I believe that you need to go to the nations? Yes and no. If God's calling you to the nations, yes. If God's not, no.
Yeah.
I think that God's calling a lot more people to the nations than go, personally. I think that he's calling a lot of us to be more faithful in our home than we are.
Yeah.
And I like to say it doesn't matter so much where you are, but how you are. So wherever you are, be the man that God's called you to be.
Yes.
Be the woman God's called you to be. Be in love with Jesus and obey him. And if you obey him, then you're going to be effective wherever you're at. But I know that Jesus says, go into all the world and preach the gospel, make disciples, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to negate the calling of a great commission, but I do think that the marketplace ministry, I don't even like that term.
I hate
just think
that
just
term.
being an
Yeah.
authentic
Yes.
follower of Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
if you're addicted to porn, quit looking at porn.
Yeah.
If you're, obese and you're, a glutton, quit.
Yes.
Get your life in order. Get
Yes.
the discipline, right? Like, fall in love with Jesus, surrender all that you are to him,
Yeah.
and let him transform you so that wherever you are, at whatever time you're there, you can actually be shining the light of Christ.
Yeah. People who sit with Jesus, they're magnetic. I feel like you can smell when somebody's almost in the presence of God, or at least
fragrant aroma.
Yes,
Christ.
literally. Though there's just a glow. It's the Jesus glow. You're
Yeah.
like, that person.
Yeah.
There's something different about them.
Yeah.
And it's just attractive.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's funny. You can meet somebody and you can know.
Yeah.
You're like, huh.
I saw a video actually yesterday. I was, scrolling on my Instagram reels, and it was this mom, and she has this disabled son, and this street interview came up to the son and asked him, he was like, what are the 3 things that make you most happy? And he asked that to the mom as well. And the boy was like, my parents, my family, I forget what the other one was, but I could just see the mother. She was just looking at him like oh man, it's so super powerful video, like just seeing his heart. And then she was just loving on him in such an authentic and real way. And it was beautiful. And you could just see it in her eyes. Like, it was just so freaking cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of that quote. Can't remember, St. Augustine maybe, but preach the gospel always, and if necessary, use words, kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that can be abused to where we stay silent about our faith.
Yeah.
But I think that if someone can't discern that you're a follower of Christ, or that at least there's something significantly different about you before you speak, then maybe there's something that is not quite right there.
Yeah.
Are you walking in pride or arrogance or?
Yes. Because I'm more inclined to, because I think talk is so cheap.
Yeah.
And just because I've met so many people, who might be talking about Jesus or whatever, and then but how they actually interact with people, how they treat people when they're not. It's like, dude, you're preaching a message about love, and you're the furthest thing from that.
Yeah.
That's so I don't know. I think people, you should know by their fruit, like the fruit in their life.
Yeah.
That's what, but I also do see, obviously, being outspoken about your faith, but not Bible thumping though, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many different ways to do it
Yeah.
though.
I mean, I think authentically loving people is the number one way.
Yes.
And in that, when people are curious or open, or there's opportunity that is the right time to share, like,
Yeah.
this is Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
he wants to know you personally. That's the time, and yeah, at the end of the day, it's obedience.
100.
If God tells you to stop and tell a stranger on the curb that he loves him, you should probably obey,
Do it.
right?
Yeah.
And if God says, go take food to a person, do that, or clean water to the nations, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yes.
just obey. It's
Yeah.
not that difficult. It's what is it? It's simple, but it isn't always easy, right?
Mm.
It's very simple. Just
Yeah.
obey. Doesn't
Yes.
mean it's always easy, but
Yeah.
what's easy isn't usually very beneficial or fruitful, right?
Mm. Yeah.
It's funny you talk about talk being cheap. I don't know why this came to mind, but I picture like an apple tree. If an apple tree could talk and he's like, "I'm an apple tree. I'm an apple tree." And you're like, "Well, where are your apples?" Those are pears. "Oh, I'm an apple tree." It's like
Yes.
it's or whatever. But it's like the, Jesus said, "You'll know that they're my disciples by their fruit, right, and by their love." And so I do think that is the absolute number one thing. And we know, I think all of us walk in a measure of imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
All because we know our own faults, we know
Yeah.
we know our own hypocrisies, we know our weakest moments. And my wife and I, thank God, in the last 5 years, maybe I'd say, have had such a transformation in our marriage and our relationship, um, because we got real serious about our own personal stuff.
Mm.
I still could say I've taken water to the nations by the thousands, hundreds of thousands at the time. We hadn't crossed that million mark yet. I could still say that I, can teach the Bible and understand all these mysteries. And I've got a teaching called the Pinnacle of History that, you've heard before.
Yes.
A holistic understanding of the Bible. I mean, I had all the stuff I could say, but at home, my marriage was a wreck. And it was because of our own personal lack of maturity and connectedness to Jesus on an intimate level personally.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started taking personal responsibility for our own actions, everything started to change. And that is true whether it's in marriage or in friendships or in business or in ministry or whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just reality. If you're not taking personal responsibility for you, for your health, spiritually, physically, mental, you're not managing your time and doing things that are whatever, like you have no business trying to go preach to others.
Yeah,
Right?
no.
And I think that's the thing, the world's sick of hypocrites.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. That brings up whole the topic of just people, the amount of, preachers. I
Yes.
hate calling them pastors because they're not.
Yeah, no,
They're actually
that's
wolves in sheep's clothing.
yeah.
They say one thing and all the while they're doing another. Prosperity, money hungry,
Yeah.
sex scandal cover-ups. It's endless, right?
Yes.
And the world sees that and it's like, I want nothing to do with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want nothing to do with that either.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I see a world right now that is in such chaos and such despair. And I even see, I don't want to get too far off because I don't.
Go.
All right. So, all right. I'm listening to the Sean Ryan podcast. Okay?
Yeah.
I love that guy. Love
Yes.
the podcast. There's a guy named Eddie Penny. I don't know if you know him.
I don't know Eddie Penny.
He's amazing. Battle proven warrior, solid dude, loves Jesus. But he shares a story. He's talking about his faith. And I think Sean asked him, how did you know you were saved or something like that? And Eddie shares a story where he says, I was asking God, how do I know that I'm saved? And he said he looked over and literally there was a sign on the side of the road that said saved. And he was like, I knew from that point forward I'm saved. And I was like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
And
why does that make you sad?
Because, okay, one, I want to recognize that God may have very well given him a nod at that moment.
Yeah.
Because that's what he needed, right?
Yeah.
Like, God is a good God. He's a good father. Like, when a 2-year-old asks his astrophysicist father to explain the universe, he's not going to explain it in astrophysiology terms, right?
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't understand it. He's going to explain it to him in a very childlike way. So, like, God's a loving father.
Yeah.
He probably met Eddie in that way, and I don't want to belittle that.
Yeah.
No offense, Eddie, if you're listening. Probably won't hear this. But,
Probably won't hear it.
But it's so much more. I've heard stories like that over and over and over, and people rest the confidence of their salvation on a
On
subjective
signs, little,
experience.
yes.
It's subjective, right?
Yeah.
When push comes to shove and life gets hard, or you've got a knife to your throat, confess Christ or die, do you think of that sign? Is that what gives you security? Like, I remember years ago, I won't go into the backstory of this, but I had been previously engaged to a girl and I
Mhm.
didn't want to marry her.
Yeah.
I knew that I was not supposed to marry her. I only proposed because I felt like I was supposed to. It's a long story,
Yeah.
a really long one. Probably want to go there. but
We'll
I
see.
broke, but I broke the engagement off,
Yeah.
and I'm driving home from Arkansas to Illinois, where I was working at a church as the missions director and all
Yeah.
that. And I go to pass a car on this 2-lane road, and as I go to pass him, he speeds up, and so I slow down, and he slows down. I speed up, he speeds up. I didn't have a fast
Who
car.
was this?
This is some random
Some
stranger
random.
on the
Okay.
road.
Okay.
The guy's not letting me get back into the right lane. And there's a semi coming straight at me. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to die. And at the very last second, I literally swerve, or I'm like, I'm either going to hit his car and push him off the road and get out of the way of the semi, or he's going to back off. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank the Lord he backed off. I got over, but I mean, I trembled. My legs shook and trembled. I was in utter like, oh my gosh, I've never come so close to death. Like, picture the semi broke,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's honking. I don't know what the dude's deal was, road rage. I'm not sure. I just wanted to pass the guy.
Yeah.
But I remember that night as I'm driving home and I look up into the stars out of the window and I could see it was crystal clear night. And I was like, I know that I know that I know that if I had died in that moment, I'd be with Jesus right now.
Yes.
Not because of any subjective experience, not because of hearing God's voice, not because of it, but because I knew the gospel was true.
Yes.
I knew that from Genesis to Revelation, there was one continuous story that said the same thing on repeat over and over, building up to the moment that Christ died for my sins. And I knew it was historically accurate and true, and I put my confidence and faith in it.
Yeah.
And subjectively, I've had many, 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 many experiences that have confirmed it to be true.
Yeah.
And I have a relationship with Christ, right? That's why I know that I know that I know that I'm saved, because Christ did the work.
Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when I hear people share these subjective experiences, that's what they're resting the confidence of their faith in. It breaks
Yeah.
my heart because I'm like, oh, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, that's not it. There's
Mm-mm.
so much more. And Paul talks about, we need to, I believe it's Paul talks about, we need to move from milk to meat.
Yes.
And I think that so much of the church has misinterpreted what that means. They think that milk is like the basic fundamentals of the gospel,
Yeah.
and that now we need to go into all these like weird things about provision and healing, and and you name it, and whatever
Mhm.
pet doctrine you want to harp on and make, set your camp up and start a whole new denomination because you
Yeah.
differ one thing from another, from you split hairs, so now start a new denomination. I believe that the milk is maybe subjective experiences, the love, the touch of God. That's what babies
Yes.
get, right? But meat is understanding. Meat is
Yes.
knowledge.
I pulled up the verse. I got to read it because it's
Okay.
so good. So 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 1-4. Brothers, I cannot address you as spiritual, but as worldly, mere infants in Christ. I gave you milk, not solid food, for you were not yet ready for it. Indeed, you are still not ready. You are still worldly. For since there is jealousy and quarreling among you, are you not worldly? Are you not acting like mere men? For when one says, I follow Paul, another, I follow Apollos, are you not mere men? I think there's an invitation there too, because Paul's not saying, hey, you're not you're not in Christ. He's just saying you're an infant, you're a baby, you still don't know your
Yeah.
identity.
Yeah. It's
But
it's a rebuke, because
yeah,
they thought that they were very spiritual and that they were, tapping into secret knowledge, and
yeah,
they were debating over which leader teacher they were students of.
yes,
And he's like, you're just a baby.
yeah,
You still quarrel and have all these problems. Jesus wants you to just follow him,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So anyway, that could take me way back. So you want to jump back to, so I go to YWAM.
I'd like to kind of pivot another way. I want to
Okay.
hear more about how you and Laura
Okay.
met, and then I want to hear, because I know there's a lot of valuable stuff, and
Yeah.
just how you guys,
Yeah.
started your family, and then, experiencing some turbulence, but then you're able to mend that. So I want to hear about that.
Okay. So, Laura and I met by going to the same church.
Mm-hmm.
We were part of a young adult ministry called Joshua House. There was, I think, probably close to 1,000 young people.
Wow.
the ages of 18 to 30.
Yeah.
The core was in the mid-20s. It's like you were too old to be in youth group, but not married and on with kids necessarily. There were
Mhm.
some that were there, but so we were actively involved in that. It was awesome. God was moving in big ways, and I had become good friends with her sister, and I knew who she was,
Mhm.
and I knew where she sat in church, which was just a few rows in front of me, and I would look at her, and I thought she was really cute.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, we would do anything we could back in the day to pick up, odd jobs, things like that. And her aunt owned a catering company, and so we would go out to like the Wexners where they had events, the
Mhm.
different places, the Columbus Museum of Art, anywhere there was an event and they needed extra staff to wait on, people. And I remember serving food to Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's.
What is yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that's Dave Thomas.
That's awesome.
But they'd get a tuxedo for us for the night. We'd dress up fancy and we would go out and serve food, do different things. And Laura and I were teamed up because it was her aunt. She was working the same event, and we were put
Mhm.
on the same team. And we just kind of hit it off, and we were
Yeah.
flirting with each other back and forth all night
Yeah.
long. And then she ended up coming to a Bible study that I was teaching, or a small group,
Oh.
And as any good small group leader would do, I need to follow up with all of the attractive young women to make
Yeah.
sure that they feel, no, I'm joking. But it was my job to, hey, hope you enjoyed group. I'd love to have you back, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that turned into
You wanna go get coffee?
yeah, that turned into an email dialogue that
Oh, you guys were
later,
emailing.
yes, back in the day, because we didn't have all the things that you all have now.
Uh,
Um, we had Juno. It was Juno.com. I remember I'd wake up in the morning and it was like, all the noises to connect
uh-huh.
to the internet. And then I checked, did she write? Oh my gosh, she wrote again. And we write back and forth. So I remember one day waking up and I was like, I'm more excited to see if Laura wrote me back than I am to get time with the Lord. And
Mm.
that concerned me because I had a really regular connection with God that was daily, and it
Yeah.
was my priority. And I realized that I need to put this thing kind of back in a little more priority of order and make sure I'm keeping intimacy with Jesus my main
Yes.
focus. But we continued dialoguing, and she kept coming, and we ended up taking real interest in one another, and
Mhm.
um, we ran pretty darn fast.
Yeah.
And
What do you mean by pretty darn fast? What's that
just
look
like
like?
we were all in. I mean, it was like I was smitten with her, she was smitten with me.
Yes.
Um, we would, hang out every chance we could. I'd get
Yes.
off. I was working as an intern at the church, and after work, I'd go to the gym. She'd meet me. We'd get a little blimpie sub. We'd get our vegetarian sub that I thought was healthy. I've grown a lot since then. Now a carnivore.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, yeah, we were all in, and it's so funny because I was praying about the relationship, and I got this really, really crystal clear image in my mind, and it was me running down a football field, and I'm running like all the way, like a 75-yard long bomb pass, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, throw the ball, like, and the quarterback was the Lord. And he
Oh.
looks at me, he says, come back. You've run too far ahead. And I was like, ooh, I knew immediately the Lord was saying, you're running ahead of me in this. You need to slow down a
Whoa.
little bit, son,
Dang.
And so I just said, hey, babe, I probably sent her an email. I don't know. I said, this is what happened. I feel like we just need to put a little pause on this because I just need to make sure that we're not like running ahead of God in this relationship.
Yeah.
Um, like we probably would have been engaged within 6 months or something.
Wow.
I don't have a problem with that. If that's what God leads you to, that's great.
Yeah.
There's marriages that do awesome with that. There's others that fall apart. There's people that do everything right and they still fall apart, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge people on that. But I knew the Lord was telling me I needed to come back a little bit. So
And that was because you're prioritizing her
yeah,
over
I think my heart
God.
was just too far ahead.
Yeah.
It's
What did
like,
that feel like when you're,
um,
God telling you ring it back, but your heart is,
yeah,
or was there, okay, this is, which I could totally be off the mark. Or was there something you're like, I don't really like what she did there.
no,
Okay.
not at all. No, no. I mean, I'm sure there were little things maybe she had. That's the unique thing is there wasn't really anything. Like most girls, I'd eventually find something.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I hate this about them. Man, when they do that, it really bugs me, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't have that. It was like all of her faults didn't matter to me because I was like, she's it.
Yeah.
Like I want to be with her, Um, but we did put a pause. We put a 30-day pause. We didn't actually email. We didn't talk. I was like, I just need to really seek the Lord. And at the end of the 30 days, I really felt the Lord gave me release and said, now you can go ahead, but just take it slow.
Yeah.
And I just kept it in moderation. I'd wake up and instead of logging into Juno.com, which is
Getting
an
the
email,
word.
getting the word, time with
Yes.
him, like
Yes.
keeping things in priority.
Yes.
And so the relationship progressed. We ended up getting engaged. And,
How long from dating to engagement was it?
I can't remember. I wish Laura was here. You know, it'd be a good interview is me and my wife together. She's amazing.
I know. We're gonna have to. We'll
She's
have to
she's
revisit
good at
that.
talking. All right, yeah, she's awesome.
Are we thinking like a year and a half?
It was a year, I think.
Okay.
I think we dated for a year, engaged for 6 months. Pretty sure that's what. And so we ended up getting engaged, and I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, so we get engaged, and I remember sitting in the car with her outside of her parents' house, and we get into this kind of little argument. Of
Yeah.
sorts. The argument is over this. Her vision for life is she wants a white picket fence with a cute house and lots of kids. My vision for life was living in a remote village in Papua New Guinea or in Gyro and taking the gospel to an unreached peoples group.
Wow. Very different.
Very different. And you asked earlier, can you serve God? And I said, well, yeah, it's not where you are, but how you are. I had a very strong religious spirit when it came to that. I remember saying that, before I die, I want to reach an unreached peoples group. That was it. It was the adventure. It was the mission. It was the Marine. I'm going to do something. I'm going to contribute to the kingdom. But it was still so much self-ambition driven.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, I wasn't mature. I wasn't godly. I mean, I was growing in my God. I didn't want to put down who I was. God had radically saved me, set me free from porn addictions, alcoholism, everything. I mean, like I was literally walking with God strongly in a powerful way. I wasn't judging people as much as I used to. I used to think that drinking any alcohol was like completely wrong. Yeah, he brought me through all kinds of stuff. So I was rapidly growing, but that self-driven ambition thing was still there because I wanted to like make a mark in the kingdom.
Yes.
And when I really look at it now, at the age of 50, looking backwards, I think I really wanted to make a name for myself in the kingdom. That's what I think.
We could talk about that for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I know we've talked about the pinnacle of history thing, and the Lord gave me that teaching 30 years ago. I've never gone public with it. I've taught it in different settings, shared it in different things. I've not written a book. And I've asked the Lord over and over, why? And I feel like this morning, even in the shower, I was praying about it. I feel like the Lord said, you weren't ready.
No.
I was waiting for you to get to the point where you didn't even really want to do it because it was no longer about you.
Yeah, he's trying to loosen your grip.
Yeah. Just get to the point where it's like, I don't care. Like, even coming here in the past, if I came here as a 20-year-old to do this, I'd be like, all right, what am I going to say to sound good? Right. I gotta be impressive.
Yeah.
I'm just like, my goal today is be authentic. That's
yes,
it.
That's
If
it.
me as an authentic human man of God isn't impressive, I don't care because I'm still authentic.
Yeah.
Because I only perform for an audience of one, and that's it. Right.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in the car talking about our difference of vision. And I said, look, I'm willing to live with a white picket fence. I'm willing to do whatever God wants us to do. That's what it comes to. I said, but I need to know that you're willing to do it. I said, so let's say we are in some remote village and there's a chief of an Indian tribe and he wants us to eat monkey brains. I've got to know that you're willing to eat the monkey brains. I know.
Did you?
I literally said this. Okay. So
that's.
Oh, if she was here, she'd tell worse.
Oh, that's hilarious. Dang.
Yeah. Because I'm like, you can't offend the chief. That could be a hindrance to the gospel, right? Mind you, I'd eaten fish eyeballs and all kinds of weird things. I'd been in very remote regions with Indian tribes up to this point. I've seen demons cast out of people on multiple occasions. I had a lot of experience in this world of international missions that we haven't talked about.
Yeah,
that formed a lot of this, idea in my mind of what my life was going to look like. And my wife looks at me, fiance at the time, Laura, says, unless Jesus appears to me himself and says to eat monkey brains, I'm not eating those monkey brains. And she took the engagement ring off and she threw it at me and she said, I don't think this is going to work out.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, oh gosh.
Wait.
Yeah.
How did that break your heart?
It did. And I realized, I'm like, I don't care if she eats monkey brains. she's the one I want to marry. This is it. She's the woman for me. And I knew it. But it was me. Here's what I really genuinely think. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I think what was happening in that situation was I didn't have confidence in my own obedience to follow Christ at all cost. And I wanted to make sure that I was marrying someone who would.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Run it back one more time.
I didn't have enough confidence in myself as a man to obey and follow and lead my wife and family enough. So I was looking for her to affirm or to confirm in me that if God calls us, we're going to do this. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to explain. It's more of a feeling than I have words for.
No,
I
I
think I've
get it
done it.
though.
I've done it on repeat throughout my life
Yes.
in our marriage, and it's been a source of a lot of our problems. Because what a woman of God wants is a man of God who's strong and decisive and will lead.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean macho, bravo, bravado, take it or leave it. My opinion's the only thing that counts. I've heard the phrase, thanks for your opinion, too bad it doesn't count. Like, no, that's not God. That's not what I'm like. I take my wife into all consideration. We weigh decisions together, pray together, but ultimately I will make the final decision. And she's amazing about that. She's like, look, you're going to make the final and I'm going to have to deal with it, but I'll trust that you sought God on it. Right?
Yeah.
So back in that time though, I think I was so lacking in confidence as who I was as a man that I wanted to be sure I had a woman who was actually going to lead me. That's hard to say out loud, but I think that's really what I was looking for. And I realized I don't care what she's willing or not willing to do. I know I want to marry her.
Yeah.
Like God's calling me to this woman to marry her, and whatever the future holds, it'll be better than my vision or idea of what a successful life looks like.
Yes.
Thirstily, like you said, was it some idea? No, it wasn't an idea even. God had plans I didn't even think about, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating thing, when she and I were dating, we were in a big gathering of believers where there was a prophetic guy. John Paul Jackson was his name. Thankfully, I've never heard any trash on the guy. He seems like he lived an authentic life.
Yeah.
But he was prophesying over different individuals. He'd stand them up in the group. There's about 2,500 people in the room. And he'd one at a time stand people up and prophesy things. And I knew most of the people he was speaking over. He didn't know them. I was like, that is spot on accurate. That is 100% accurate.
That's so
and
crazy.
You're sitting there, you're like, God, give me a word, which one of my good friends, former pastor who now is the executive director of Thirst Relief, he told me one time, he said, everybody wants a word from God, but just remember this, when God gives you a word, it's because you're going to need it. Right? So when you're standing there, God, speak to me, I want this prophet to give me a word. Well, he reserves those for people that are going to need those words. And we were the last people that he stood up. He only stood up about probably 8 different people, maybe. I don't remember exactly. But he was just about done. And he was like, you two. And we're looking, turn around. And surely he's pointing to somebody behind us. Right? He's like, no, yeah, you in the green shirt and the blonde hair. He's, yeah, you two stand up. We're just dating. He said a bunch of things that were spot on, 100% accurate. He says, the Lord has a victory for you in a Brazilian context. But he said, but it's not just Brazil. It's like that's the catalyst for the calling in your life. And then he went on and he said, to my wife, he said, dating at times, says, you have a tendency to be a wallflower. The Lord's going to make that very uncomfortable for you.
A wallflower?
Wallflower. Somebody who just stays in the background. And she has a strong, powerful voice. And she has strong, clear thinking. She's he said, you are a strong, clear thinking woman of God. And she likes to remind me that he says strong twice, because she's very strong. But she also thinks very, very clearly on things. And a lot of times I'll ask her, what do you think? Because you think clearly, Anyway, and then he goes, and then I just hear, and then he stopped. He goes, no, I'm not going to share that.
Yeah. What?
I know, right? We're like, what the heck? We found him afterwards and walked up to her like, will you share with us what you heard? And he looks at us, he goes, I just heard the pitter patter of little feet. And Laura goes, a baby? And he smiles and walks away. Now, mind you, we're not even engaged at the time.
Yeah.
Okay? I was not comfortable with this. And I also had some prophetic manipulation that led me into that previous engagement that I broke off. And so I was like, no way, like this.
No way.
But I will tell you this, we conceived of Ashton, our oldest, 4 weeks into marriage. And it was not an easy pregnancy. My wife gets horribly ill, like down for the count, hospitalized if she doesn't have anti-nausea meds, all those kinds of, it was horrible. But God gave us a word to give us that confidence that this is my will for you, right? And it's the greatest blessing in life. And I wouldn't have looked back. All of my children were so God ordained and orchestrated. and I'm so thankful for each one of them. Um, and in my timeline, it wouldn't happen. We would have backpacked Europe a little bit, gone more
Yeah.
international, had a few things on my agenda.
Yes.
Instead, we were nursing a baby and building a business and starting a nonprofit. So
Not necessarily ideal.
exactly, but that's the thing. It's like, I've heard it said that, if you want to hear God laugh, just tell him your plans.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
it's, but many of the plans of a man's heart, but the Lord directs his steps. He
Yes.
is a better leader than I am a follower. So
Yeah.
I take great confidence in that.
Yeah.
He will always lead better than I can follow.
Mhm.
So anyway, we ended up, getting married.
Mhm.
Our marriage counselors that we met with, premarital counselors, told us that maybe we should delay the wedding because they thought we had to work through some more stuff.
Whoa.
We didn't heed that warning, and I'm glad we didn't actually.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we probably both had more things to work through that could have maybe made for an easier marriage.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is that any marriage, I don't care what marriage it is. I mean, unless you get two golden retrievers together and they just love each other like Goldens the rest of their life,
Mhm.
great. I think I like to joke and say I'm a golden, that Laura's a pit bull. She laughs and yeah, because I can be very pit bullish myself.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we were just two young people who had a lot of crap to deal with inside,
Yeah.
trying to come down to or figure out like, what's my identity? Who am I? And how do I want to live as one with this person?
Yeah.
And most of it was delightful. But over the years, you get more stress. Each child brings more stress with life, less sleep, more exhaustion,
Mhm.
trying to keep up, buying a more expensive property. You got to pay for this, building your business, insert into that, starting a nonprofit. Like
Mhm.
life just got really, really, really busy, and we, didn't prioritize our love for one another.
Mhm.
Um, I would say we didn't really focus on our own personal growth either.
Mhm.
There was a lot of growth that was happening just by nature of
Different
living
areas.
life and
Yeah.
and business and parenting and all of it. But there were resentments that were building and
How so?
hurt. You know, I mean,
Just
we,
things that
we
you
all,
don't talk about. Just
yeah,
things that
I
you
mean, we all have expectations on one another, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure she wanted to be more dated and romanced and
Yeah.
treated the way I treated her when we dated.
Yeah.
Like I remember setting up roses and a picnic at a place and surprising her, like, I didn't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I just quit romancing my wife. But all
Mhm.
the while I'm wanting more sexual, relationships. And I
Yeah.
want to be more intimate and I want to have, and she's like, okay, so now I'm just your play
Freaking
toy, like,
yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, it's like, but the reality is like I'm not working for her affection and love
Mhm.
and nurturing that. And it's like a garden, you either go out and pull the weeds and tend to it, or you're gonna have a mess, right?
Yeah.
And our garden just got really full of a lot of
So
thistles and
what
thorns.
does it look like to tend to your garden, I guess, in the sense of a
I think the
marriage? Like,
number one thing is keeping short accounts. And when I say short accounts, I mean if there's an offense or there's a hurt or something that you just need to talk about it.
mhm.
But talk about it in a way that's non accusatory, not full of bitterness, anger, resentment, blame, criticism, name calling, all the immaturity that sadly we we okay, how do I want to say this? We started off mild, right? But
Mhm.
it got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it just got to the point where it was nothing but bitterness and anger and resentment built up.
Mhm.
And
Were you guys fighting a lot?
yeah, we fought a lot.
Yeah.
We were, yeah, it makes me sad when I think about probably a good 10 years of our marriage were were pretty rough.
Yeah.
And the kids were in that,
And you guys didn't give up.
we didn't. We actually, it's funny, we had a marriage counselor who actually advised that we separate for a while.
Wow.
And thank God we both are very stubborn, strong willed people. And we said, no, that is not what God's called us to.
Mhm.
And we were determined that we would rather cohabitate in misery and hold the covenant that we made with each other than to divorce. And yet I will tell you, I used the word divorce a couple different times in our marriage, and I do not recommend it.
Yeah,
It's one of my
dang.
deepest regrets in life is ever even saying the word divorce because it meant that I was entertaining the possibility in my mind. And that did nothing but breed more insecurity, lack of confidence, or just, I don't want to say it because my wife's very confident. She's very secure. It bred insecurity in the covenant,
Yeah.
in that she can count on me no matter what, right?
Yeah.
till death do us part. We say it, but we don't mean it usually.
We
People
don't
have no
get it, I don't
idea.
think.
Yeah, what? For better or worse, unless I grow out of love, we drift apart. We've just emerged and developed into different type of people. And so together we in unity have said, let's just become friends.
Yeah.
We'll raise the kids as friends. I'm like, that is absolute bullshit.
That's yes.
Like that is just bullshit. That's an
Yeah.
excuse for you to pursue whatever you want to pursue in life without having to hold through a difficult time of a covenant you made. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is covenant people don't understand. They think of it as just a momentary commitment if it feels good and I feel like it works for me, right?
Yeah.
Covenant is lifelong. It is till death do us do part, right?
Yes.
Or, I don't think I said that right, but till death us do part. And that has such a rich, rich, rich history that goes so back far into Genesis chapter 15, even where God cuts covenant with Abram.
Mhm.
And I understood that. Thank the Lord, he revealed to me powerfully the power of the covenant, and Christ is the fulfillment of that covenant. And
Yeah.
I knew that covenant wasn't an option. It was a absolute till death do us part.
Yes.
So I'm not getting out of this thing no matter what,
Mm.
though I did entertain it for a while.
Yeah.
And my flesh was weak, my spirit was willing. I stuck it through. She stuck it through. We got more and more help. We started listening to great input. We talked about Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
Personal responsibility, that I would say was probably one of the number one keys. And then a good friend of mine, Daniel, he, not you, Daniel, but another Daniel, he really helped me walk through leadership as a man and just taking the lead. And, you know, simple phrases like, I welcome your opinion, but I don't welcome your disrespect. Can you?
I welcome your opinion.
I
I
don't
don't welcome your
disrespect.
disrespect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your input on this. I don't want your disrespect with this.
Yes.
Or, you know, the phrase from the book, Love and Respect, you know, was I just unloving to you? Because that came across to me very disrespectful.
Mm.
Or a phrase that we use a lot, we still use this one. You want to go again? It literally, we could be like in the middle of the crazy cycle, back and forth, name calling,
Yeah.
attacking, and you're like, wait a minute, this is not who we are anymore.
Yeah.
This is who we used to be, but we're not that anymore. So, okay, hold on, stop, pause. You want to go again?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go again. I'll literally walk out of the
Oh, I
room,
love that.
come back in. I'll repeat word for word in a better way what I was saying.
Yes.
She'll come back with a respectful response and a loving interaction begins.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it always is perfect, but it's not the crazy. It doesn't turn into this hurtful thing that leaves scars and wounds, right?
Yeah.
And we've learned how to do that on repeat to where I would say that 95% of our home life is peaceful and joyful and loving and a place I want to be and our kids want to be. Whereas in the past, it was probably more like 80 was crap and 20 was good.
Whoa.
Hey, I don't know. My boys are here. They're shaking their heads in agreement.
Yeah.
So
So what was the
I
defining
should say my men are here.
Yeah.
Men.
So what was the defining moment though in your marriage where you're like, okay, things have to change right now? Or was there just a
I think
wake up call?
yeah, it was when I realized that divorce was becoming a more regular thought. You
Mm.
know, it's, you know, what's the phrase? I don't want to butcher it, but um, change only happens when the pain of staying where you are exceeds the pain of the change.
Whoa. Okay.
Right?
I get where I think I've heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So change only happens when the pain of staying where you are exceeds the pain of the change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We avoid change because it's uncomfortable. It
Yeah.
requires intention. We can't just float through it. We have to put focus. Fitness is an example, right?
Yes.
I remember I was in so much physical pain through carrying extra weight, having an incredibly inflammatory diet, and my joints hurt, my back hurt, my neck hurt, everything hurt. And I was like, I'd rather die than
Mm.
continue living this way. That's how much. And the idea of death appealed. Not, I wasn't going to commit suicide because that would be so wrong and
Yeah.
hurtful and irresponsible to my family and God. But the idea of getting hit by a bus appealed to me
Whoa.
because I'd be out of pain.
Yeah.
That's how much chronic pain I was in one point in my life.
Wow.
And I heard a podcast by Dr. Sean Baker on the Joe Rogan podcast, talking about this carnivore diet and how it could reduce inflammation and do all kinds of healing in your body. I was like, I owe it to my family to try this. I do. Like, if I'm thinking death sounds appealing, I need to try this.
Mm.
So the pain of staying in that pain was so great that I couldn't stay there, and it exceeded the pain of the change. So just eating meat, which if you've never given up carbs in your life, you think, yeah, it can't be that hard. Give it a try. It's a little difficult for the first few days at least, right? Then you get to the point where all you want is more protein and you're like, dang, this is the best thing ever. 2 days into that change, my pain had reduced so much that I was like, oh my gosh, I'll never eat carbs again. This is it. And I've stayed on the course. I now have introduced into my life more complex carbs, sweet potatoes, a
Yeah.
few things, some vegetables, but I'm primarily a whole foods, protein based diet, and it transformed my health. The change in the pain of having to cook meals, shop healthy, find a local farmer to buy beef from,
Yeah.
none of that compares to the pain of staying where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that translate into marriage, right?
Yes.
We reached a point in our marriage where I was so miserable. All I wanted to do was leave. All I wanted to do was go on the next fishing trip. All I wanted to do was go somewhere other than be in the same house with somebody that I was growing more and more and more resentful towards.
Mm-hmm.
And our sexual intimacy was like nil. It
Yeah.
was horrible, she certainly wasn't. It was all about me.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. I was like, this sucks. Like something's got to change.
Yeah.
And praise the Lord, my wife heard about a marriage retreat that we should give a try. And along the way, I started listening to Jordan Peterson, talking to my friend Daniel. We go to this retreat. We started, and it was about I'd say about a year long journey. But we read the first 5 chapters of a book called Hold Me Tight. I'm just remembering this was the turning point. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody recommended this book. It was a pastor of a friend of ours who I shared openly about our challenges. And he recommended it. We read the first 5 chapters. And basically, the author points out that if you have these 5 horsemen, they call them, your chances of divorce are 99%. That's statistically proven.
This book's called Hold Me Tight.
Yeah. We had all 5 of them. We were like, wow, we're doomed. But we also knew we were the 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not breaking this covenant.
Yeah.
We're both strong enough and we're committed to God and we're not doing it. But we were like, but this sucks. We're cohabitating in misery. Great. Yahoo. Woohoo. Good for
Yeah.
you. You get the award. You held your covenant. No, you didn't. Your covenant was far more than just staying married. It was to love and to respect and to care for and to ask for forgiveness and to operate in humility and all these different things. And, we were very specific about our vows because they needed to have meaning, not just I'm staying married. Right.
Yeah.
So we read the first 5 chapters, and basically, in a nutshell, the conclusion of those 5 chapters was, do you want this to work? If you don't want it to, nothing's going to help you. If you really want it to work, then make the decision that it's going to work and start going from there. And we came to a position of said, ceasefire. It was like 2 warring countries that just keep hitting against each other. And we finally say, can we have a ceasefire? Let's just have a ceasefire time.
After 10 years.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Probably something like that. I don't know.
What was your relationship like with
like 20 years
with your young men?
It was very,
and daughters too.
Yeah, it was great on many levels. It was also, what's the word I want to say? It was contaminated because I don't believe you can be the best father if you're not a great husband.
Yeah.
So we found, I would say, a measure of false intimacy and connection around our misery or our judgment towards her.
Yes.
Because she was very strong and she had standards and she would not let the kids probably get away with some things that I would or whatever. She always said, you're the yes dad, which isn't actually accurate fully, but I was more likely to say yes. And the kids knew that. So they come to me, right? And I think that some of that co-misery and mutual judgment made us feel a sense of connection there, but it created sides, which is like, I don't know if you heard the term triangulation. We were triangulating between me and Laura and Ashton and me and Laura and Braden.
Yeah.
Braden was more like Switzerland. He always tried to play neutral. Ashton was like, I'm in the battle.
Yeah.
And so I would say that it was fantastic in the level that I was super engaged with them. I remember taking them to, looking back, I'm like, this is probably kind of dumb. I took them to the Columbus airport, went on the top level of the parking garage with fake guns and let them film a war movie they were created. Thankfully, no security came after us, but we were hunting monsters or something. I can't remember. Oh, it's two stories. Oh. Okay, okay. So I was smarter than that.
Mhm.
Uh, but like I was engaged with them, right? And
Yeah.
I would help them explore their creative thinking. I encouraged filmmaking,
Yes.
photography, building things, doing stuff. Like I was very engaged as a dad,
Yeah.
but I was really miserable as a husband. So
Yeah.
the joy and but the thing is I wanted to blame Laura for all of that.
Mhm.
She was the problem. And it's funny because I went to this weekend retreat where they asked you to identify the biggest problem in your life right now. And the marriage was it, without question.
Mhm.
Is now we want you to give a name to that, an animal name to your problem. And it was Serpent Sally.
Serpent Sally.
Serpent Sally. That's what came to my mind. I was
Yeah.
like, yep, that's what she is, Serpent Sally. By the end of the weekend, you realize you're Serpent Sally. You are the source of your own
Mhm.
problem because you're not leading and take personal responsibility as a man. And
Wow.
it literally changed a lot because I came home, I shared with her, I confessed my own shortcomings, I asked for forgiveness, and it was great. But we didn't take the next steps of going further to go, how do we get into the
Yes.
healing we need? How do we step into getting the tools of maturity? How do we and life became just crazy busy again. And so we kind of took a step back, but it was less miserable than it was, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then after the longer period of misery, which sounds like there's so much misery, I will say one thing that's been really good is recently we've been looking back on family videos
Uh-huh.
and we realized we actually laughed a lot and
Yeah.
we had fun and the kids were laughing and they were all happy and like it wasn't all bad, but when you're in a bad patch of marriage, it feels like that's it, right? I
Mhm.
think that humans tend to focus on the one thing. It's like when you get a splinter in your finger, right?
Yeah.
The rest of your body feels fantastic, but all you're thinking about is the pain in that finger, right? Because
Yeah.
it's throbbing. And that's how I think our marriage was. Because I didn't care about serving God. I didn't really even care much about thirst relief at that point. It was on autopilot. I didn't care about I don't my all of my ambitions go out the door when my marriage is not doing well
Mhm.
because it's all that I want to have right in the world. And if it's right, I feel like anything else is possible.
Yes.
Then all the drive comes back and it's exciting. But so we read that book, we made that decision, we created a ceasefire
Mhm.
and we decided that we didn't want to continue hurting one another.
Mhm.
We wanted to work towards unity. And that's when we started getting more intentional, started going to these retreats. We started getting the right tools. We started reading more. But what's interesting is that book has multiple more chapters,
Yeah.
but it digs deep. And we knew that we weren't ready to dig that deep.
Yeah.
We knew that there was too much pain there. So we said, let's just enjoy a ceasefire season and then we'll dive back into this. And
Wow.
it's funny, we've never gone back to it. But we recently said, hey, we should dive into that because we really, really, really are in a good place and we love each other.
Yes.
And for the most part, we're at total peace and life is good. And, so maybe we should dig in and go deeper because there's
Yeah.
always new levels to work through,
To uncover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just for time's sake, I think that's a pretty good place to stop. But I have so many more questions,
Yeah.
but I don't want to keep opening up more cans. I think it'd be really cool if we actually brought Laura into this because I'm
That'd be
thinking of
amazing.
just, well, I've heard, the boys mention like Love and Respect was another big book. So I think there's so much in there that I want to dive deeper
Yeah.
into that. So we'll have to,
Come and have a conversation about marriage.
yes, exactly. Would love to
Good.
do that. So, but thank you for sharing all that and just
Absolutely.
I feel like this is probably a good spot to end off.
Nice.
Just so, but I appreciate you
Yeah.
pouring out everything and just
Absolutely.
coming on and sharing. So,
Yeah. It's been a
where,
lot of fun.
yeah, where can people connect with you at if they wanted to? I guess even if you email or Instagram or
Yeah. It's Jim Davis Hicks
yeah,
uh, on Instagram and Facebook.
okay,
And then, if they want to reach out to Thirst Relief, they can go to
yes,
our website, thirstrelief.org.
yes,
Um, and they can, contact me somewhat through there.
yeah,
It'll eventually get to me.
okay.
Um, and then, yeah, so
Then you're also working on that new book,
yeah,
a
yeah,
book.
yeah. I talked earlier about, covenant and the
Yes.
whole of the Bible. Um, when Jesus first resurrected, he came along with these two guys walking on
Mhm.
the road to Emmaus and he says, you know, it says beginning with Moses and the prophets
Yeah.
and the Psalms, he basically explained to them what the scripture said concerning himself.
Mhm.
And most people approach the Bible like a recipe book. What do I feel like eating today? With
Yeah.
no connection to anything whatsoever. But it's really more of a glorious novel with
Mhm.
foreshadowing events. building up to this beautiful climax of the cross where Christ
Yeah.
says it is finished. And there's a holistic understanding of the Bible that roots your faith so deeply and so securely that it's unshakable.
Yeah.
And that's a passion of mine. And so, yeah, I'm working on a book called the Pinnacle of History, and hope to help get that out there because
Yeah.
we live in a world of chaos, a world of
Yes.
confusion. People are confused spiritually and mentally and every level, and don't know what to believe and
Yeah.
what is truth, right? So
Yes.
Pilate said, well, "What is truth?" And I believe that actually has an answer, and his name is
100%.
Jesus. But it goes deeper than that to
Yes.
fully understand it. You know.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We're definitely going to be doing a part 2 with Jim and his wife. So appreciate everyone. Talk to you later.